And welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are. And I am Wesley Sykes. To the other side of the ether is the Batman to my Superman. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, DC superhero for hire.
You know, normally I'd take that, but in the DC, oh no, you had Keaton technically in the DCEU in the end, so it works out.
Mhm.
But Affleck,
I'm not even sure if I can call you Batman, to be honest, if we're being frank right off the top here, because we know, you're a lifelong listener of the Change My Mind podcast. You would know that he's not a hero. Heroes don't do that.
Apparently, that was great call, all time, unbelievable. However that got leaked, whoever did that, thank you very much. It was a great gift.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, we're talking about eating pussy. Right off the top there.
There we go. Yep.
Just filling everyone in on the joke. That came up in the group chat actually, kind of recently. Doc brought that back up.
Oh, jeez, yeah, and it turned into him massaging Catwoman's feet instead.
Is that what happened? It got edited out.
Yes, so it's okay to be Rex Ryan, but not to do that. Apparently.
Okay, all right. Well, I think both are acts of love.
Yes.
So
that's also fair. Who am I to judge?
There, yeah, exactly. But enough pussy talk here. This week, fresh off reviewing Aquaman and the Last Kingdom last week, as a crow flies, we're holding our definitive DCMMEU rankings. Pretty cool stuff. We're pretty pivotal. It's a big podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, Nick, you're above 30. Have you reached a point in age where you start getting injuries out of nowhere? Dude, or are you still in shape right now?
It's like you're reading my mind. So I now try and stand whenever I do podcasting now, just because it's like we have an office space for it, and I'd rather just for different reasons. But Lauren has a standing desk now, so I try and utilize that. Just like instead of sitting around for another hour, like why not stand? And I actually kind of like it from a talking standpoint, as much as I struggled right there to get it out, but like I just feel generally more fluid. I feel more active. I can bounce around a little bit. So,
sure.
That said, I was getting ready for the show tonight, and I'm like, I went to the gym before. My right side was a little bit like tight. We did this these Celtic games at my sister-in-law's this weekend, and I was like, I did, I got a little active on some stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm standing, just so everybody knows, everybody who's not watching. But yes, I run into that.
I got to hear a little bit more about these Celtic games.
Okay, so my brother-in-law put together like a series of like 7 trials, dude. The first one, I've said this to you many a time. Like I played soccer, and I loved playing soccer. I actually missed that quite a bit, but not enough to go and run a shit ton. Like that,
sure.
I loved baseball in part because I didn't have to run a whole lot. The first thing we do, we have to run. And it's like this sprint. Like it's like I heard a quarter mile, but I don't know if it was that long. But it was like way too long. Like the average guy in the DSG would have said, "I'm not doing that." 100%. So I do that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep pace with my brother-in-law and just as best I can. I know he runs, and I know he made all these trials up, so I know he's trained. If I can just keep pace with him and then make a push at the end, we got about a quarter of the way into the run, and he started separating himself, and I'm like, I am out. I'm going to finish it, but I am coming in last in this. But I won the whole damn thing in the end. There was like a rock throwing thing. There was like like a capture the flag thing, but with like these like kind of like sword type things. But they're like it was like a bunch of duct tape and shit, so like you know, always getting hurt.
Sure, yeah.
Grip strength, all this kind of stuff. But in the end, I ended up winning the whole dang thing. Surprisingly.
And of how many people?
I mean, it was my brother-in-law, like Lauren's older uncle, and then my 2 nephews. So I'm more so an asshole than anything.
Okay, all right, yeah. And the nephews are ages between
like 10 and 8. Yeah.
Okay, I'm picturing like a whole group of people here, but no, it's good. It's good you showed out in front of the in-laws, though.
Yeah. Well, there was a point. So there was a point where I was gonna have to go toe to toe, like in this like sword fight type thing. Between the older uncle, but he's like, I'm just gonna give it to Nick, and then someone's like, well, he could pick a champion, so then I had to fight my sister-in-law's husband, so it was me and him like in front of the in-laws, and I'm like, all right, if there's ever a time that we got to get serious, it's right now.
That's it right now. Yeah. So what is it, like the jousting stuff that you would see at like I don't know, like trampoline parks or something like that with like a padded.
Kind of like that. They had like they created like for like a child like swords like with like out of like a ton of duct tape and these like wooden hilts, and they had like little ones,
Oh.
long swords, all this stuff. They had a makeshift shield. They've had that one for years. So yeah, like him and I went at it, and really the moral of that the sword fight was like, this is not going to be the last time that him and I do that. That was too much fun.
That's great stuff. Yeah, I think you should settle all your differences with a good duel.
Great call. That's what we're
Yeah.
going to do from now on. Yep, definitely going to do that.
Settle
But
it like men.
yes, but I'm still whole walking out of it, but at the same time, like I am playing a little injured today, but I'm assuming it happens to you with some frequency, these random injuries.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I bring it up because over the weekend we had a little birthday party / St. Patrick's Day party for my father-in-law. Turned 65, so we had all his
Nice.
family over, and there's just one nephew. I guess he's more like a cousin to Julia, but he's like nine years old, so it kind of works like a aunt and nephew type of relationship, you know.
Sure.
But he's the only one there, you know, of the kids. It's him and Vivian, so there's too much of an age gap there for that, you know, any fun to happen. So he's left to his own. And growing up, that was like for me, you know, I was always the youngest of the group there, and like no, everyone was more adult. No one wanted to hang out with me, so I feel for that. So I always entertain him and like play tag with him and stuff like that, you know. Or yesterday he brought a football and a soccer ball out, so we're kicking the ball around. I think I have a bruised toe. At one point we were doing 2-hand touch, just like one-on-one football.
Oh,
And I'm trying to like juke him out and everything, and like one of my ankles is stiff and bulky. Like it's like I don't even know what happened. I'm out of breath. I'm like calling audibles at the line of scrimmage, and he's like, "None of this matters. Why are you saying this? You have to let me catch my breath."
Oh,
Like,
wow.
that's why I'm doing this here. So although I've been trying to keep up with the gym, my cardio is down. My
Yeah.
cardio's hurting big time.
Who wants to run? Like, honestly, I mean, I know there are people, there's a whole, like, this, part of society that loves doing it, but I'll tell you what, you and I ain't part of it.
Well, I once considered myself a part of that. I used to
Actually,
run quite regularly, and I've just fallen out of it with the baby and getting older, and then it's like it's easier to work out, you know.
Yes.
I also
shouldn't
think
speak for you.
walking is probably better if you're like looking for like fat loss or weight loss, you know. Speed walking, incline walking, it gets you into that nice zone 2 cardio zone. So anything past that, you know, you're just burning off good stuff.
I forgot how much you used to run. Like, and it
Yeah.
was not long ago that you were doing
No,
that.
life changes. Life comes at you fast, kid. So much like these injuries just are piling up, you know.
Yeah.
It happens kind of fast.
It's tough. That's why whenever we talk about like the DSG Olympics that will never happen, it's like we'd be lucky if half the guys walked out of that without an injury.
No, it wouldn't be sports. It would have to be like axe throwing, bowling, go-karting, something like that, you know, something where it's not really physical, testing your physical prowess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Other feats of strength that we can do, but that's good for you for winning that, you know, good for the Friar. I'm sure your family was happy about that.
Oh, yes. Lauren has never been prouder of me.
Oh, I mean the Friar clan, though, you know, not necessarily Lauren in that sense. So, of course, she's family as well, but
Yeah.
Specifically the Friar clan.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, my father has agreed to no longer disown me, so that's good.
There you go. Back in the whale. Love to see it. What I also love to see is the Comic Book Minute coming up right now.
A superb choice.
So we just got a ton of X-Men news recently. We found out that we're going to see Gail Simone dealing with Wolverine and
known enemy Gail Simone.
Yes, your best friend Gail Simone.
Wolverine. I
Wolverine.
haven't heard that name in a while.
Gambit, Rogue. I forget who her artist is going to be. But then Nightcrawler. So like she's going to be having like this elite team, and then we got Jed MacKay, who's doing a ton of who's done a lot with Moon Knight over the last few years, has absolutely kicked ass. He's paired up with Ryan Stegman. That name may sound familiar to some of you. He did a lot of he did Venom with Donny Cates, and then that King in Black title. So he's done some awesome work over the years, done some indie stuff too. So excited to see him get back into the Marvel game and move forward with X-Men. They're top tier guy is going to be Cyclops in their story. And it's actually going to be set in Alaska. Then I cannot remember for the life of me what the third like headline X-Men title is. I wasn't familiar with the team. I think that's going to have like Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde in it. But yeah, I'm not sure on the creative team there. And then there are a few other titles we're still going to have. We're still going to have Wolverine. It looks like Greg Capullo. He's still being rumored to draw that, so I really hope that's the case. That would be a lot of fun. But quite a few different titles. I know there's a Phoenix title, there's a Storm title. So we'll see where that all ends up. But a huge week for X-Men fans after the whole Krakoa era. We now see what the new direction is going to be, the new jumping on point for everybody who kind of didn't like the Krakoa era, or maybe had to take it off, or whatever it is. Or if you're just trying to get back on board comics in general. As for DC, the big one for me there is going to be John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America issue 3 is out this week. I actually haven't checked that one out yet, but the first 2 issues were a welcome return for Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell. And then from Image, we got the 7th issue of Kill Your Darlings, which is the penultimate issue of that series. And Joe and I have been absolutely loving it. We've talked to that creative team 2 times now already. First at the before the second book, and then after the midway point. And the penultimate issue absolutely delivered awesome stuff. I know the ending is going to be wild. That's all I know at this point, because a few different things seem on the table. Then we got the Infernals issue 2, another creative team we talked to a little while back. This is the one that's the Omen meets what is that Brian Cox show? The one on Apple TV with like the
is it Severance? Billions?
Is it
Succession?
Succession.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Succession meets The Omen. So the first 2 issues of that have been awesome. I did get a chance to check that one out already. And then on TLDR this week, we talked to Tony Fleece, who is the writer of Stray Dogs, the co-creator of Local Man, 2 comics that have been were massive hits in the last couple of years. Talking about a couple of his upcoming titles as well as those previous ones. And then this week, we'll also be doing What's New again on TLDR, which means there's probably something else that's in the hopper. These things come out of nowhere for us sometimes. They really do. But
okay,
that is it for the Comic Book Minute.
All right. I love it. We get straight into our main topic here. Once again, that is the definitive DCMMEU rankings. DCEU, but with a CMM twist on it, like
of course
the CMMCU doesn't lend itself as much as that. We got to kind of sandwich it in there.
It works.
I think it works.
I didn't even see it when I saw. I didn't have the vision for it when you jotted it down. I was like, oh wow, you found a way. Look at
we
that.
did it again. We just continue to make magic here. And to put this list together, these rankings together, we're going to our good friends at tiermaker.com. We got this pulled up here. So for those of you watching on the YouTube, and you should all be hanging out on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like, review, hit that subscribe button, maybe smash it. Who knows? You will see this list here that we have a couple of different categories. We have cinema, banger, great, okay, bad, dookie, haven't seen, which I think we've seen all of these here, so we should be able to make that happen.
Yes, we have seen all these. I like how there's a lot of options. I feel like for categories, I feel like 5 probably would have been preferred, but
yeah,
there's so many times where I'm like, I wish I wish I had like another category. I feel like 6 works.
It brings nuance, Nick. We need nuance to the conversation.
My one gripe, this is the gripe. I couldn't figure out what it was. Great as the number 3 category feels odd to me. It should be good.
No, I hear you here. Maybe retroactively we can call that one the good.
Yes, that's what it is. But that's the way they made it. We didn't make it, so they did the work. I shouldn't complain too much.
Who's the person here? Who should we be complaining to?
I don't know, but they did the work, not me. So thanks, whoever it was, for doing it. I don't know how it worked.
Philip K 101 on Twitter. You can send your complaints to him. Write all your emails and bad reviews to him there.
There you go.
Let's dive into it here because we got a whole bunch of rankings that I pulled up for us. Just we can pepper these in here, but we have them ranked on the tomato meter. We have them ranked on IMDb. We have our own rankings from our own reviews here. So we'll get some of those in here. We'll also get some questions like best and worst origin story, best and worst team up movie, biggest disappointment or surprise, best and worst characters, things like that as well. So we'll pepper that into the conversation. But kind of like our friends Mac and Goo over at the Mac and Goo program do. We'll have one stamp and one veto each,
Yep.
right? So
Nice and simple. Yep. Because we only have 17 to pick
down
from, so
one.
we can't go too far. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 17. And actually, this one features a little bit more. They have not only the differences between the Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Justice League, but they have Justice League is gray. They have the Batman and Superman extended Ultimate Edition as well. So we can kind of play with those if we want to. Again, nuance is important after all.
Yeah, I mean the gray I never watched. I'll just
I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
never saw gray, and then the only Batman Superman I remember seeing is like the one that's on HBO Max. So like I think that's the extended one. So.
I think that's what's on there, if my memory serves me correct. So I'm just gonna move Justice is Great I haven't seen already. We get to fill that in. I feel good about that.
Perfect. Yeah, look at that. We're gonna have a full list here. I will say, we rolled through some of those like little categories that we'll talk about along the way. One of them is best worst moment, and that was probably the hardest one for me to like come up with an answer for. And I think that's very telling because it's with the MCU. Sure, it could be a challenge there, like let's just say up to the end of the conclusion of the Infinity Saga, but it's not like it's like you have this, you have that, like you have
so much. Yeah, it's the opposite, right? You have too many options to choose from there. You could even just do the I am Iron Man moment, right? At the end of Iron Man, like that's such a huge moment. It ends up becoming so much bigger because of what the character becomes and what the series becomes, right?
Yep, so many different things, but like even for best and worst, I was like, like I just like this is I don't know, and like the worst I try and I guess not remember, but it's like to not be able to know either is it says a lot, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Here, Nick. You always got something to say though, so why don't you come up with our first nomination?
Okay, I am gonna. All right, I'm gonna start off in the banger category here,
Ooh,
and
okay.
I have two movies that fit into this category. I'm going to start us off with Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman.
The original Wonder Woman.
I know
okay.
you gave this a 80. I gave this an 88 for a 88 for a CMM aggregate score of 84. Which puts it in the top 10, but not the top 5 for us on Rotten Tomato. It is actually the second highest graded by the critics and not the audience though. 93-83 split, and then on IMDb it is number 3 at 7.3. There's only one show that's over 8, and that's one thing that's over 8, and it's Peacemaker. For me, this was a cultural moment too, similar to obviously what we saw with Black Panther over in the MCU. And it had such a massive impact on people, and I really enjoyed Gal Gadot's interpretation of this character. I also think this and another movie are up for best origin story in my mind, and I do think that Wonder Woman was one of the best characters in the DCEU.
For sure, with how much she was used again and again, right? Popping up at different movies here and there, and and she really came out with like the highest grade of anybody, of the big actors there from the main Justice League, let's say.
100%.
Yeah, this isn't my favorite movie, but I can recognize it as a good movie. I think when you talk about something like Captain America, the First Avenger, it's a good period piece. It does a good job of being a superhero movie, but also kind of like stands on its own. It doesn't necessarily fit that superhero genre to a T. Maybe I'm not describing that right, but I think you know what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it also came out later than Captain America, but I would say like it did a better job than the First Avenger.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I agree with that there as well. But it wasn't my favorite, but I can recognize it as one of the better products that DC did.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think the other thing too is like when we talk about the winners, I'm assuming I'm allowed to just bounce around with all these questions that you came up with.
Yeah.
But I do think Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman are both massive winners when they walk away from this, because like this movie was also such a moment that we look at Wonder Woman 84, and yeah, you and I talk about it, but I think it's also like easy to just be like, no, Gal Gadot did great in Wonder Woman, and like that's it. And like, yeah, she did Justice League and some other stuff, but this is her shining moment.
Yeah, I agree. She might be, if we talk about the Robert Downey Jr. being a perfect fit for Iron Man, Ryan Reynolds being perfect for Deadpool, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, I think she kind of fits that mold to the Wonder Woman character.
That's actually, you know what? I think that's a bold take, but I also think that is a very, very fair point. I think you're right. She has done an outstanding job in that role and really transcended that character.
It may be a reach, but I'm trying to think. Like, I'm not sure of anyone else in the DC. Maybe Henry Cavill as Superman.
But
he didn't really have enough screen time.
The only thing, like I think she's in that conversation. Like she's like I'd say my take would be she's debatable. She's on that second tier where we talk about like a Fassbender and an Ian McKellen, although McKellen was great too as Magneto. But those kind of guys they're on that tier just below. That's where I'd comfortably put her. But I do think you make a really good case.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. So I'm starting off with the banger category. So that is the number 2 category on this tier. And I'm putting the Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman.
I don't hate it. I might be compelled, depending on how everything's fly, to use a veto down to good or the great category rather. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go with a recent movie that we reviewed. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle came out last summer. Technically, maybe a part of James Gunn's universe. Who knows? We might see that character come back into the fold. This may be in the conversation for best origin story. Maybe, I think it's on the list. I'm not sure if it's the winner, but I think you definitely got to consider it. Yeah. I love the family aspect of it. There was didn't take itself too seriously. It was low stakes. It was a fun time. It was maybe what hurts this in the origin story argument is it feeling a little formulaic at times. Again, kind of fitting that cookie cutter superhero origin story kind of boilerplate. But I enjoyed this movie without having much knowledge of Blue Beetle and also knowing that he was kind of stuck in limbo with being this DCEU film, but also maybe being a part of James Gunn universe. And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, after The Flash?
This came out, oh shit.
It was close. I want to say it was after.
Yeah, I'll look that up for us real quick.
But going off that thought that it did come after The Flash, that I think that was a nice palate cleanser to everything that The Flash was. This big spectacle. It was oversaturation on the CGI. There's oversaturation with the heroes in your face. And this is a little bit more toned down, a little bit lower stakes, a little bit lighter. So again, I thought that was a nice palate cleanser to The Flash, which ultimately may have helped it, maybe boosted score up. I'm looking at our combined rankings. You gave it an 87. I gave it an 85. That's an 86 on the CMM aggregate score. On the tomato meter, this is number 6 on Rotten Tomatoes with a 78-91 split. And then on IMDb, this is also coming in at 13th with a 6.0 out of 10. So not bad on IMDb, but not great. So I'm going to put this in what is the great category, but it's really good.
That is exactly where I had it. And the real quick check that I did, it was this came out after Flash.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what we were thinking there.
For those who want to fact check us, you could also just go and check all our episodes in our archives because we did talk about both of those movies previously.
A lot of these movies we talked about, actually. Yeah.
It's the only ones that we didn't do were the earlier ones, and then the only one we really put off was Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. But when it comes
great
to Blue
call
Beetle,
by you.
I feel like you're giving me credit where it's like it was a team effort, but I appreciate it nonetheless. You're a good teammate.
Someone's got to speak first, though,
This is fair. But when it comes to Blue Beetle, I did give this an 87, but I did have it in the great category, great, good, whatever you want to call it, versus the banger, just because it was well done. I did enjoy it, but I feel like Wonder Woman, it took it was a massive step. And honestly, when you look at the DCEU, that was a point where there was a lot of promise with Wonder Woman, whereas Blue Beetle is coming in at the end. They did a good job, and you could argue when everything was stacked against them, the deck was like they stepped up and they made a good movie. But I do think there's like formulaic stuff that's in there that you don't necessarily see in a Wonder Woman that came out, almost a decade before.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like the Ant-Man of the DCEU, and that's not a pun intended with the insect crossover there, but literally small stakes, a hero that we haven't really heard about before. That's kind of like, all right, this was a good movie. This was fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's worth a sequel, or maybe you bring them in as a supporting role and popping in as a guest, and maybe in team up films down the road if they do decide to keep them. But other than that, that was just a fine entry. It's a good entry.
I do think that if they want to utilize that character going forward, like keep this actor. Like I think I think he'd be good as a complementary character down the line, team stuff, however you want to mix him in. You can definitely he showed potential where I didn't really see any because I don't read Blue Beetle stuff. All right, so we have one in the banger category, one in the great/good category, and then we have one in the haven't seen it yet, of course.
Yes, sir.
Great. All right, I am gonna move to the. I'm gonna go to the bad category. I only have one for the bad category, and just so everybody knows at home who's listening to us and not watching, a reminder: bad is the second to worst category. There's also Dookie.
There's Dookie. Yep. Mm-hmm.
For bad, I'm going to put the Justice League. So the original cinematic release of the Justice League, and this is one where I was like, okay, like it was whatever coming out of it. I did think some stuff was like coming out of it. That's how I felt. Then we saw the Snyder Cut. And it was like, again, I know 4 hours is crazy, but at the same time, it's like, what the fuck? Like some of there's more to this movie that could have been kept in, and there's probably things that were in the original that could have been taken out versus stuff that was cut from the Snyder version. So it's just like it was an odd experience, that we a moment in cinema history that we got to be a part of. But I feel very comfortable that this doesn't just go. I have quite a few movies in okay. This one is not on the same level as those. And on the tomato meter before you go, this is number 13 on the list with a 40-67 split over there. And then on IMDb, it's number 12 on that list. So kind of the same general region, 6.1 out of 10. So I think I have it on the I have it lower than both of those lists have their grading, but either way.
Yeah, no, and we're right around it too. We gave it a 13 with a 72-79 split for 75 and a half, right? So we're like right around those same rankings, right? It's like 13, 13, 14. So yeah, I feel like we're right on it there. And I agree. It's like you can tell that this movie was kind of doomed, unfortunately, right? I think Zack Snyder was dealing with some family issues at the time there, so he had to step away from production. And you can tell that there's just two different thoughts of where this movie is, two different ideas of how this movie was kind of envisioned. You see both of those kind of inserted in there, and it doesn't really mesh well. So I think that's a great point. I do enjoy, the Snyder Cut more. I think this was okay movie. I'm not going to parse hairs. Maybe again, depending on how the rest of the board plays out, maybe I'd bump it up one. But I have no problem with this. Because when you talk about expectations, this was the Avengers of the DCEU here. In fact, better characters, right? More beloved characters. So. Yeah. It just didn't live up to it, obviously. It's bad.
The one thing I will say, the Justice League came out before Change My Mind started. So Wes and I had to give our grades on that now. If I had graded this back then, there's so many reasons why it would be different, but now having seen the Snyder Cut version of this, I had to bring this down to a 73 like I did. Otherwise, I probably would have been closer to what you have, if the Snyder Cut never existed, but I don't know if I would have reached your level quite there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I hear you. I'm with you there. I think, I think I'm gonna stay with the bad.
Okay.
And again, I've never seen the extended cut of Suicide Squad, maybe not knowingly. So we're just gonna put that to the side and not nominate that. But the original Suicide Squad, the first one, not the James Gunn one. This is going right into the Dookie pile.
I was gonna say bad.
Stinky.
That's got to be in the.
Not haven't seen Dookie. Yeah, so it's in the Dookie. It's not rewatchable. It's disappointing. You know, you get Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie out of that, so I guess there's some positive. But anything that was cool that you think that they maybe like carry on doesn't really work out, right? You got Joe Manganiello as what's his name?
Deathstroke.
That's pretty cool. That doesn't happen. Then I thought Will Smith's character was kind of cool as well. So
yeah, Deadshot was cool. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just Margot Robbie and Will Smith. Like those are the only two characters that were like, yeah, they did. Like, I mean, Katana was like whatever. But yeah, no, I had this in my Dookie category as well. This is the bottom of my list, bottom of your list as well. We both have it in the 60s, 64.5 aggregate score. You actually gave it a 69, so good on you. But yeah, otherwise, turns out you're a confirmed villain as well. But yeah, this is definitely Dookie. I mean, I think, I have one other movie that I have penciled in for the Dookie category, and it's between those two for like biggest letdown in the DCEU. This might have to take the cake though.
This one was because you're expecting to get a whole Joker movie. You know, Jared Leto goes like, really deep into his roles there. So you think it's going to be cool. And it's just nothing. You get like a gangster Joker with tattoos and stuff. It's just not.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, but yeah,
not what we wanted here. And that's the real draw, right? We're talking about Joe Manganiello and Margot Robbie and Will Smith, but the real draw was getting, real screen time with the Joker. And it just didn't pan out like we had hoped.
I obviously love the Joker. I mean, like great character, but there's also like there's so many other cool like villainous type characters.
Yeah.
You don't need to lean on him as much as the big screen people tend to do. But anyways, so yeah, so now we've almost filled out every category. So I'll take us to I'll get us started in okay, where I definitely have the majority of my movies. I'm gonna put Man of Steel in there. And I'm not the biggest Superman guy. Definitely in the DSG, definitely not. But so I think what he does with Zod at the end of this movie, like bothers me less than most people. But at the same time, like I also feel like Superman is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, major character to do in this day and age.
I agree.
He has been, we've seen him in so many different ways over the years. So there's that most characters do not have. And then just his superset, like, I hear when I've seen writers talk about like how they view writing Superman, like comic book writers, and it's helped my view of him a little bit, like how he's not American. He is an alien, and he's not from here, and he's here to defend them, and he's trying to like fit in and all this different shit. It has impacted my perspective, but at the same time, that is such a like it takes so much to get there. I feel like,
yeah.
So and when I saw this movie, I didn't have that perspective. So I thought like it's an uphill battle, and it was like pretty good. So I'm putting it in the okay category. I gave this an 81. So, that's the bar for me. I'm putting it in okay.
See, I think, again, he's on Henry Cavill's on the short list for best, fitting the character to a T, kind of becoming symbiotic with the character, so to speak. I think he's a great representation for Superman in the modern day. Certainly beefed up to the role, looks the part, strong jaw type of guy. Soft-spoken, right? I feel like in other movies or shows, maybe you could speak more to this watching The Witcher, but he's not really he doesn't really command a presence with his voice. It's his presence that's like the commanding thing. His stature.
He kind of talks like this when he's doing The
okay.
Witcher.
All right, so maybe I'm off base there, but that's just my general thought on him.
No, I agree. Like I was like, when you're looking at the DC Guns DC, it's like, yeah, you kind of got to move on from a lot of this. but I would have liked to see Cavill stick around because I think he did do a great job. I agree with you 100%.
I love this. I love the parents. I thought that was great casting there with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. I thought they were great parents there. Amy Adams, like this is a star-studded cast. You know, you got Michael Shannon as General Zod. I think this is my first real gripe. I've said this a couple times, but
Ooh.
Everything that you've nominated right now, I would bump this up to the great good category.
Okay, well, you do have that.
I tend to think that this movie being first is kind of like a bit of a problem for it in coming out so early ahead of everything else. I don't think that necessarily did it any favors, you know, and the public reception of Batman v Superman certainly kind of stymied things as well. But I think he's a great representation of the character. It's tough. And I think this movie holds up. I think, again, it's like a good movie on top of being a superhero movie.
So I'll say this: I'm not gonna go and stamp it by any stretch.
Stamp it. Okay.
Nope, absolutely not.
Well,
and I'll say this: I'm not. If you veto it, I'm not gonna re-veto it. Okay, so like you have that.
Okay, so it's open there. Okay, but I'm open to the conversation though. Again, let's see how the rest of the board plays out here. All right, so we got Man of Steel. Anything else you wanted to mention on that?
No, I will say I'll just give the quick Rotten Tomatoes on that. So Man of Steel is in the middle of the pack there. 56 from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, but 75% from the audience. And then looking over at IMDb, they were still in the same range, but in terms of score, 7.1. But that's actually fifth on IMDb for the DCEU. And either I froze or Wes froze.
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing. I think it was me.
Okay.
Either way, we're good.
Yeah,
okay.
we're good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's good to know. All right, so we got our tomato scores here. My question that I had before moving on, we have the Cinemore category. Do we think early on, or is there any cinema?
Yeah.
You think so?
I have three that I
three. Okay. All
yes.
right. I'm eager to see that there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I got some, but I don't feel necessarily confident about it.
There's one that I think is like it's not even a doubt about it.
Okay, all right there. Yeah, all right. We'll see. I'm eager to hear that here.
Okay.
Let's go with which one? I can't see here. The original Shazam on the heels of Man of Steel.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Let's go Shazam. And I'm going to have this in it's not a banger, but it's great. And it's a better than Blue Beetle.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's right on that tier. This is a fun movie. We definitely enjoyed it. I think at the time when we reviewed this movie, we said it was arguably the best DCEU movie to date. Again, I had a lot of fun. I love this take on this character. Maybe this is a reoccurring theme, but didn't have much history with this character. So it was my first real introduction to him. So maybe that helps. I didn't come in with like preconceived notions, but Zachary Levi, I thought this was going to be kind of like a dorky film. I thought it was going to be really bad, but it was a fun time. It had some heart. And it had, some decent villain, I guess, but it had some good heart there. I think the real villain is the mother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think if now that I'm like recalling our conversation, I think she might have been the big loser in all of this.
Yeah, she was. So for those categories that we have, we're talking about like best team up and best character and stuff. Best origin story. I actually have it with Wonder Woman and Shazam. So Shazam was in the banger category for me. I also gave that an 88, like I did Wonder Woman. We have a score of 84 or 85.5 on that because you gave it an 83. So yeah, I mean, I would have had this in the banger. So I that may be where my veto ends up going, but we're in. Who knows where?
I don't hate it because again, the good not great thing. I'm in complete agreement on the origin story. I might even give the edge to Shazam here over Wonder Woman because of the lack of notoriety that Shazam has in comparison to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that was my big thing. Was like this came out and yeah, it wasn't a cultural moment at all like Wonder Woman, but at the same time, it's like everybody thought like, oh, Shazam, like why are we wasting our time? It's like,
Right.
oh wait, no, this was like that was fun. Like I had a really good time with that movie. So that's for me, like those two are this like they're very different from one another for a litany of reasons, but at the same time, like I was like, no, they kind of belong in that same pairing. And those were my only two banger movies. Do you have anything else to say on Shazam before I do my next nominee?
No, go right ahead.
All right. So I kind of want to go to cinema, but all right. I'm gonna make sure I secure this spot, this general spot for this movie. So number 6 on my list, and my only other movie that goes into the great category, which I also had Blue Beetle there, Birds of Prey, which
Mm.
we have that. Where is that on our list? So that is actually at number 11 on our list because you and I have different views on it. I gave it an 87. You gave it a 76 as a CMM aggregate score of 81 and a half. Going over to the tomato meter, this got a 78-78 split, so everybody feels pretty much the same on it. And then IMDb, this got a 6.1 out of 10, so that's 11th on that list. So I'm assuming you're going to feel differently on this, and that's why I wanted to get it on the
Where would you like it on great? In between what? Is it between Shazam and Blue Beetle? Above them, below all of them?
I am. Let's put it below Blue Beetle because you and I both have Blue Beetle and Great.
Gotcha.
I have it ahead of Blue Beetle on my list. But this was one where like a lot of stuff around the movie seemed to be chaotic, seemed to be problematic, and then we come in and we actually get a team of Canary, Huntress, and Cassandra Cain was the one character who like wasn't written how I think the character deserved to be written, because that character is an absolute badass.
And that's the kid in this movie, right?
Yes, and they just made her the kid in like a more of a plot device than anything. But then you have Margot Robbie in all this. I thought they did a great job as a group in the different ways, and the way they wrote Huntress was kind of funny, but I also really liked what they did there with her. So for me, like there were a lot of reasons like to question this movie going in, and then I thought they stepped up, and I also think that Ewan McGregor as Black Mask was like he got really outrageous, which you do need to be as the character, and it was like. But like that, and the character in the comics is like I feel like he's such a diva, and he was that here, but he also got goofy in like the right way. So I feel very comfortable with this in the great category. I didn't know where you were going to want it though, so I needed to make sure I secured that spot.
This is okay, good, great. It's right around there for me. You know, I don't hate that. I feel more strongly about Man of Steel being in the great category than Birds of Prey being okay or other. You know, cool. I agree. I think Margot Robbie comes out looking great in this, and so does Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is like my big takeaway from this because, to your point, he chews up the scenery. He's great. I'm trying to think of the line. There's some line.
Oh,
there.
You're a fucking moron.
Yes. Yeah. That's a Mac and Goose special there.
Yeah.
That one just is so funny, delivered greatly. But he also, like to your point, he has that kind of like insanity going off, a little bit of scariness, right? He cuts off the face of like the husband and wife or something who are getting tied up like early on. I feel like I
something like that. Yeah, he's outrageous, and it's like it's all on. He's on a 10 at most times throughout the movie, but on a spectrum of 10.
Yes, yeah, I agree. So okay, I'm okay with that there. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Aquaman and the Last Kingdom, our most recent movie review. And if you go back and listen into the archives, I don't think we were too favorable of it. I might have been more favorable than you. I think. I think I gave it a little bit of higher score, but nonetheless, it's a crap movie. I'm going between bad and dookie. Do you feel strongly one way or the other?
I mean, I don't think it's dookie. I gave it a 75. You gave it a 70. It's definitely not okay. It's definitely not dookie in my mind. I had it at okay. I think there are two clear. I don't know how many movies you think belong in dookie. I think there are two that is just like one of them Suicide Squad and the other one's like what the fuck happened.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that. I think I can guess the other one there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. This is a part in the pun here. Dead in the Water franchise, right? The final nail in the coffin for the DCEU. This was delayed. This had all sorts of production issues, partly caused by the COVID, writer's strike, Amber Heard's trial, all this other stuff, right? And it was supposed to come out like a couple of years earlier, or at least in the summertime before this. So the shakeup didn't really do it any favors, especially being so far away from Aquaman, which made $1 billion. I still haven't finished Aquaman. I did finish The Lost Kingdom, and it's full of cheese, which can kind of work in its favor. Maybe that's what's saving it from the Dookie rating, but it's just not for me. I know you might be a big Jason Momoa guy, but
I
I'm
am.
not.
Yeah, I am. And
It didn't do it for me.
that's why, like, I had this in the okay category, but at the same time, I think it's also fair to have it in the bad category. It definitely makes more sense to have more bad than okay when it comes to the DC stuff, or have it more equivalent. I certainly didn't. But I of course had like Dookie as well. But yeah, so I don't anticipate using the veto here, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
It's on the short list for me at this stage. Where I want to go, but yeah, so it was a 75-70 split for you and me giving the 75, and then on the critics gave it a 34 on Rotten Tomatoes and 81 from the audience, and then IMDb, this is the second to last movie on their list from the DCEU, 5.6 out of 10.
Yeah, that'll do it there. That'll do it for sure.
All right, so I'm gonna give us our first one in cinema, and I mean,
I'm eager.
The Suicide Squad is without question the best movie that we've gotten from the DCEU.
Yes.
Where Suicide Squad was a major letdown, the Suicide Squad was like, we got James Gunn, and it's just another reminder that he is one of the absolute best superhero movie directors, unquestionably. And having him, and we were talking about it before it was a rumor on Twitter or anything like that. And we didn't have any source or anything. We asked Casey Walsh about it. Like, when are they going to make James Gunn, like this for DC? And it was before, I think it was when he had that whole fallout and where he was kind of like Marvel kind of moved away from him for a second.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
That's where we talked about it, because it was like, he did such a good job with the Guardians. And then you hand him the Suicide Squad that they fucked up, but had infinite potential. And then he goes and again uses some C-list characters. Nobody cared about Peacemaker beforehand, and then you have Bloodshot again, like Ratcatcher 2. Like King Shark was outside of Harley Quinn. King Shark was like the most known character of that bunch, and no one gave a shit about King Shark. So he made a lot out of a very little, and now you have everybody loves Peacemaker. Obviously, Harley Quinn was great in it, and they did. I just thought he did an outstanding job with it, and had a really fun time.
This would be, I don't hate this at all. This would be borderline banger to cinema for me, but I'm not enough to fight you on it. And the more I think about it, maybe it's just been a while since I've seen it. Because you mentioned Ratcatcher 2, the relationship that goes on between her and Ratcatcher 1, her father, right? Taika Waititi. That has some heart in it. The Polka Dot Man with David Dalmatian. You kind of have some heart there, but that also has some funniness to it. I might be bleeding over into Peacemaker season 1, but some of the stuff with his father, that's all very like emotional as well. Again, maybe that's Peacemaker, but you aside from just like the fun and stupidity and action that comes into it, you do get some heart in here too. So I think that's what James Gunn's specialty is, right? To your point, taking a ragtag group of misfits and then making you care about them.
Yeah, 100%. And as for the grading for it, this is actually fourth on IMDb's list at a 7.2, and on the tomato meter, it's also number 4. 90 from the critics, though, so pretty high up there on the critic range, and then 82 from the audience. So this. Is this where is this on your short list of we have 17 movies here? That was my number 1. Is it not your number 1?
Yeah, so I guess I'm getting caught up in the semantics of cinema and banger, and sure. I think like
Fair.
it was something that might be more aesthetically pleasing, might be on the cinema, and then this was just like a banger, like a good time, like a blockbuster sort of thing. I had a lot of fun with it. It's you can maybe overlook some flaws, but it's still like an 8 or 9 out of 10.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
maybe that's there. And again, now that I'm running things through my mind here, it's like the TDK was great. The detachable kid as
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion. There's a lot of like small little bit roles like that worked out pretty well for it.
They had quite a few funny ass bit roles. Yeah, they were good. But okay, so what do you got for me next?
Okay, all right. I am gonna go with Black Adam,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna say this is okay.
Okay. We're on the same
I'm going to
page.
put it behind Man of Steel because
That's where
I
I
want
have
to do
it.
something with that at the moment there. But yeah, This was again. We talked about this with Blue Beetle, but when you talk about like a formulaic superhero origin story, this has some of that to a degree. Not to the same extent of Blue Beetle does, but also it's heavy on The Rock. I think this movie, however, though, might be on the short list for best team up. With not the Justice League,
Just Society.
the Justice Society there. I loved Hawkman. I loved Dr.
Fate.
Fate, thank you. And I can't remember all of their names and everything, right? But I thought they were all very cool. And those two, Hawkman and Dr. Fate, I thought were two of the standouts in this movie here. And kind of seeing them all kind of play together. There's an Atom Man, right? Or Adam. I think it's just
I think it's Adam. Yeah.
Who again kind of has that Ant-Man type of vibe, can go big, can go small. So I thought there were again some things that we've already seen before. It didn't really do anything necessarily new, but I really enjoyed the team up aspect of the Justice Society.
Yeah, I was surprised because I don't like Hawkman. Like with Aldous Hodge, like he made the character cool. This was someone again who was like I just didn't care about going in. When I saw it was Aldous Hodge, I was like okay, maybe like he'll do well. Then he did, and Pierce Brosnan absolutely kicked ass with Dr. Fate, and they made that character look so good. So I agree with some of what you said there on the team up aspect. And then when it came to Black Adam, this is one. This is said it a lot. There's quite a few movies in the DCEU where it was like, hey, is it going to be good? Is it going to be like probably not? I thought for sure I was not going to like Black Adam, and then it was like, no, like that was solid. Like I think I gave it an 81. You were a little bit higher on me than
81, 83 for 82 aggregate score.
But I also had this in the okay category. I think it's like comfortably set there. Like there's no question that it definitely would be lower than that. So yeah, it's a fun time, and I don't know if I'll go back and like when I'll go back and watch it if I ever will, but I enjoyed what The Rock did.
Yeah, it was fine. It didn't live up to expectations, not our expectations per se, but like maybe their expectations.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. Yeah, because ours it was like no, it kind of
right,
like,
right. But yeah, I think you have a Rock in the role. Rock and roll. There we go. You have Rock in your lead role there. He's supposed to be the next bankable action hero, Hollywood celebrity type. It didn't necessarily pan out that way, no matter how he wants to kind of frame it, right? Wasn't he kind of doing that? But like, we made this much money, and but it was like kind of, I don't know. I felt like he was kind of fudging numbers there.
That was very, very odd. I didn't understand any of that when it was going on, but yeah. So that whole issue is a whole other thing. That was messy for sure.
And he didn't want to have Shazam. There was some beef with the Shazam, Zach Levy.
Yeah,
and that's probably where you take the most points off because they're really one and the same in the same universe. And
oh my god,
it's not even acted like that.
You can't. Yeah, you can't. You can't acknowledge them. But the thing is, like, so The Rock can't lose a fight on screen or something like that. Whatever it is, it's just
that's right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, so very comfortable with Black Adam being in the okay grouping. I'm gonna go down and get a little dirty with the Dookie, and this was unquestionable for me that this movie has to be in there. And again, like possibly the biggest letdown right there with the original Suicide Squad movie, Wonder Woman 84. I do have this when it comes to for best worst, like when we're talking about best worst moment, kind of like it's just
The
that. I
sleep
mean, like
assault, right?
the
The worst moment is
there's so much weirdness in that movie, and there's so many things that are done poorly. And I get it, like it was a tough time. It was the pandemic. It came out at the end of 2020, and
Mhm.
there's so much stuff that went wrong. And I get it. It was a tough time, but at the same time, Wonder Woman was like the original movie was so good and such a massive hit in so many ways. You can't follow up and mess this up as bad as you did. And it wasn't just and it wasn't just like it was like, oh, the CGI was off or the writing wasn't great. Like it wasn't just like one thing where it made it bad. It was like, no, no, there was some really bad writing from a plotting standpoint, from a dialogue
Mhm.
standpoint. And then there was some pretty terrible CGI, like that fight in the desert, that car chase scene. Like it wasn't a bad idea, but it was terribly executed. It's a very like ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing, and I don't remember this movie entirely. I do remember this was the kickoff for HBO Max on the day and day release, like you said, at the end of COVID there.
Yeah.
I think it was a Christmas Day release, as it goes. But I just remember being weird. There's a timeline issue when they talk about Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Wonder Woman 84. She gets so much shit from Bruce for like never popping her face out during whether it's Batman v Superman or Justice League. And she just decides to show up. But then Wonder Woman 84 takes place, much like the title suggests, in 1984. There, you would think there would be some database of her, some other photographs other than like an old black and white photo of her like in a Western, But nonetheless, like all of this is just kind of forgotten about when by the time you get up to speed at Batman versus Superman or the Justice League timeline. So
Mhm.
there's like huge discrepancies within that, let alone like bringing Chris Pine back from the dead. It's like a lot of like weird things that they play with. There's a whole thing kind of playing out in a mall. There's a mall scene, which I feel like even the 80s aesthetic is kind of borrowing from Stranger Things. I feel like that was like,
Mm.
right around, not their height, but around the time that they're still very popular. So I feel like they're trying to kind of capitalize on that aesthetic. It didn't really work out in their favor.
Yeah.
Kristen
Nope.
Wiig as a villain, Pedro Pascal
He
didn't
was
really do
disappointing.
it for me.
That was just like it was partially the writing, but also like he was like his character. He was just odd.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no, not a fan. And easily, these are the two movies I had in Dookie with Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman
Now,
84.
any discrepancy there within the Dookie?
I mean, I have Suicide Squad lower, but I mean, it's tomato for me.
Okay, well,
If
yeah,
you
let's.
do you feel a certain way?
I know it's all Dookie. It's all
Yeah.
shit.
Yep. So
You can't polish up a turd.
right.
Um, I'm gonna say again. I don't know if this is cinema or not. Like, I'm getting hung up on cinema here, but if we're talking about
It's
the
the number
best,
one category. Like that's it.
yeah, 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 that's how I should look at it, right? Uh, Peacemaker.
I was one. That was the one where I was like, if you're gonna get caught up on it, I would understand. But that's where I have it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, this was as the only series to be in the DCEU. This was great. Again, talking about the heart, probably some of the things I talked about in the Suicide Squad could be carried over into Peacemaker when you're talking about the father-son relationship there. You have Freddy as great comic relief. John Cena blows me away with his comedic ability and timing and everything. Usually people who are that jacked aren't funny. That's like kind of like a rule of thumb, but maybe he's just so large that he's like obese, like on the BMI scale, like he would be considered like just as obese as an obese person.
Hmm.
He's just as funny as a fat person because of his size there. It works for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, he is funny.
It took me a while to get there, but I think I made that point.
Yeah, you did. You landed that plane.
Yeah.
And it's Cena's funny, and I'm not a wrestling fan at all, so like I never was on one side of it or another with Cena, but I always
I was
like,
past that at that point, but yeah.
I was just like, who is this guy? Like I don't know, he just for some reason didn't rub me the right way, but as I've seen him do more work, it's specifically as Peacemaker, really, I've really enjoyed what he's done. So yeah, he's won me over for sure.
Now, is this again getting down to the nitty gritty here? We're all about nuance. Better or worse than the Suicide Squad?
I don't have it better than Suicide Squad. It's really good.
I can live with that.
Yeah, and I would argue like too. You don't Peacemaker's. It was very good on its own, but you don't have the investment from everybody else in Peacemaker without the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and if I remember, the Suicide Squad, I mean, kind of ends with Peacemaker and Flag like almost having like a standoff shootout, right? And he kind of dies. He's like presumed to be dead at the end.
He kills Flag, and then Bloodshot we thought killed Peacemaker, but then we see at the end of it that it's not the case. So yeah, no, he's yeah, but that was a great show.
More of a reason for the Suicide Squad there. We get Peacemaker and Flag going off. I forgot about that little rivalry within the game there.
Yeah, that was 100%. But anyways, so Peacemaker in cinema, a funny spot to put it because of the name. You have to put it in the top category.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Next, I'm going to go back to the okay, which is where I have one. Honestly, Wes, I have one more movie that's not in the okay category, and then everything else for me is okay. So I don't know where you're landing on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'll go with my last cinema, just so that way you have a little more room with some of these others. You feel differently.
Okay.
So I have
nice of you.
Right now on my list, based on my scoring, I have Peacemaker at number 3. I have The Suicide Squad at number 1. And then at number 2, I have Snyder's Justice League. And I know that there was all this different mess and nonsense around Snyder, and we stayed away from it in a lot of ways. But it's crazy. It's no denying it. It's very much like if you're on Twitter and you pay attention to this stuff, you can't help but stumble upon it. And shit, it was in the Harley Quinn animated series. That's how big this got, and to the point where we got the movie that we did.
Yeah,
4 hours is friggin' absurd. Like, you have editors exist for a reason.
Absolutely. I need a job. You need a job.
Exactly. It's ridiculous, and that goes for writing and movies. However, this, for like what it was outstanding. I would not see this in a cinema. You don't have that kind of time, but it was really, really good. And the reason why I also felt so comfortable giving it an A score when we reviewed it is because I also saw in this, it was way better than what we got from the original cinematic Justice League. And I also saw, like, you can condense this down from the 4 hours. You couldn't go down to 2. It would be tough, but you could still condense it down and make it better than what we got in on the big screen.
Yeah, I agree. It's a complete vision, right? From one point of view, not a couple of people's point of views in there. It is long, but again, when I think of cinema, I think of, if anything, this would be the most fitting of the title. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. 4 hours is a long time. I'm not sure if I would go see it in a theater, but if this was split up into a part 1, part 2, like Deathly Hallows or Dune 1 and Dune 2, but they came out, 3 months apart, 2 months apart, or something like that, like that would be pretty cool. So it's disappointing that we didn't get to see that come to life, but you get so much more, a better look of Steppenwolf. You get more of why am I blanking on?
You get more of Cyborg.
More Cyborg, but the big villain.
Oh, you get Darkseid actually.
Darkseid, thank you.
Yeah, he actually is there. We didn't have him otherwise.
Yeah, so I think everything gets fleshed out a little bit more, and this fits that dark, gritty, a little bit more violent than we would have get. And the extensions, I think my favorite part of this are the extended dream sequences, which goes into, this better than I would, but it's Batman in the cloak.
Oh,
in the trench coat. And it's him and Joker, and then so you get Jared Leto's Joker back in there, and it's pretty cool. You got Amber Heard, Mira in there, and it's in that dystopian world. Yeah, when Superman goes bad.
Way in the future and everything.
I thought that was so awesome. It's a dream sequence, very cool. And then you also get Martian the Manhunter down at the end, so you get everybody in there. So this might be the best team up. I know I put in Black Adam in there, but I mean, if we're really comparing apples to oranges, like this is not really in the same conversation as Black Adam, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the only thing is, I think the one for me, otherwise, is Suicide Squad, just because like it was. I thought that was
Fair. Okay. No,
but
I completely overlooked that. You're right.
it's either one of those two for sure. I mean, the thing you have for Snyder Justice League is that, I mean, you have all these characters who we care about a lot more too, and they had screwed up before in some capacity. So there's also that. And as for the Snyder cut on the tomato meter, 72-93 split, and then on IMDb, it got, I actually can't find it.
Maybe I didn't put it. Maybe they didn't
No,
rank it.
no, you have. I mean, you have everything else on here. I just might not be seeing it. Oh, there it is. I was looking all the way down the list. So that actually, that has a 7.9 out of 10 on
Oh, yeah,
IMDb,
number 2. Yeah.
but it is the second on the list. So it is in the top category for us.
Okay. All right. I can live with that here. On that note, I'm going to go with, I guess, the prequel to that, but a different version, the extended cut of Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I'm going to put this ahead of Blue Beetle in the good, great section.
Ooh, okay.
Now, I like this movie a little bit more than most here, so I can expect maybe a little bit of a pushback here. I'm tempted to go with a banger because upon rewatch of this, I've really enjoyed it. A lot of people don't like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I enjoyed him. I thought he was good here. But the longer version, you spend more time with the characters. I think it fleshes out their story a little bit more, and it doesn't feel as jumbled, right? Just like along the same lines of what we're saying about the Snyder cut. I think this movie works. I love the sweet guitar riff of Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot. When she gets first introduced at it's like some soiree party or something where Henry Cavill comes in, he's talking to Batman or Bruce Wayne at the time about something about the paper, and you start seeing they're playing this little like cat and mouse game. Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot are, and you see her in a nice full gown. It's like stunning, it's like breathtaking. Like very rarely does that happen, I think, and it's like a real memorable moment, almost like the first time Margot Robbie gets introduced in The Wolf of Wall Street. You're like, oh my god, this woman is just drop dead gorgeous. Gal Gadot had those vibes going on there at the introduction, so I give her some points for that as well.
Okay. I had this in the okay category, but at the same time, it was on that short list just left off of great for me. But I don't think I don't think that's where, actually, I'm going to use my little perks right now to ensure that I get the one that I want. I know where you're leaning right now. So I'm going to bump up Shazam to banger, and I'm going to stamp that there too.
Oh man, how dare you?
Yep. All right. Well, now you can do what you want. You actually, I guess the stamp kind of goes out the window when we only have one.
We have one of each. Yeah.
I guess
in hindsight.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyways, all right. So I've used all of my goodies up there, and as I said, I only have things left in the okay category. So I'm gonna go with the Flash, and again, okay category. This could have, again, I have this just below Batman versus Superman on my list. And I do like Batman versus Superman. Like I didn't talk about it a whole heck of a lot, but I actually this was the one that I saw way later than everybody else. Again, predates Changed My Mind. And I only saw the extended cut, and I was like, why did people lose their shit over this? Like, and I know the Eisenberg stuff, but it's just,
do you bleed?
There was definitely, and the Martha stuff, yes, it's funny, and a little ridiculous, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it felt like that some of the hate that was there was a little overblown. When it comes to the Flash, there are some really good moments, and there's some really terrible moments.
Yes. This
would pop. I wouldn't be. I would. This might be bad if it isn't for Michael Keaton. Quite honestly, he's everything he does is outstanding. So much fun. Like just number berries, all these things. I did like Supergirl as well in this. I thought they did a great job with her, and how they turned her story into Flashpoint was kind of cool. But God, those like the sequences when he was in the I can't blank. I'm blanking on like the when he was running, like what's that
Speed
called?
Force.
Speed Force. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Proud of
so
myself there.
bad. Yeah, great job. That was so bad visually. It was embarrassing. Like that is up there with some of the Wonder Woman 84 shit that we
You
got.
don't get it, Nick. It was supposed to be that wonky.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Like there's no way. Like I'm not saying this guy like it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I am as forgiving as you'll find when it comes to CGI stuff, especially across the
Mhm.
DSG. And I had like that was like, what the hell is this shit? So okay for me.
Yeah, this is an okay movie. I think it was fine. I think again, like you said, the member berries aside, this is other than that, it's kind of a tough watch. Um, Highlighted, I think, by Ezra Miller with not even touching on any of the off-screen stuff, but I think
Yeah.
he's just unbearably annoying in this. Probably by design. He's supposed to be like a teenager in this, but you get two of them, so they're kind of like ADHD. So you get the younger version, and then like the freshman, sophomore in college version, I think,
Yeah, he was younger in that other one. You're right. Yeah, he was a freshman in college in the younger version. I forgot about that part.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like one is supposed to be a little bit immature, and the other one is still just like ADD, you know. But so that gets a little bit tiresome, I think, on the audience. And there's some cool scenes in there. I think it's a good time. But I will use this time to shout out maybe the best fight, the best action scene is Batman versus Superman, in my opinion. Their big fight there when Batman's got the kryptonite and they go
Oh.
1v1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
bleed? That's
Okay.
that's cool. That's pretty cool. You
Okay.
get the tech suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. That definitely was a cool fight, and yeah, there's a lot from the action sequences in that movie that were really cool. And then to just close the loop on, excuse me, on the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Barry Allen is not the most beloved Flash. People, I think, like the biggest Flash fans are actually Wally West fans. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
in the way that he was written, Barry was like, I can see how they'd get there, like how they the not flashback version of Ezra Miller in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it, but at the same time, that's not the Barry. That's not necessarily Barry either. Like just personality choices that they made there. It's, I'm kind of whatever on it, but yeah, the younger version did get to be a little annoying at times. But yeah, again, in the end, I felt like, oh, you know what the other thing is too? I'm sorry, I'm like burying the lead here. You have the Flashpoint stuff, and that is such a cool story, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an amazing comic book. It's an all timer for sure. And you use it a little bit, but just as a convenience thing. You don't go all out with it. And I get it that Flash was at a weird point, like the DC was at a weird point, and then you mentioned Ezra Miller stuff. But it's like there's a part of me that's like it's not fair. Like you gotta like grade it based on what you're getting. But there's also an element to me where it's like you had this thing, you kind of used it, and you really didn't use it
Didn't
how
reach the full potential.
you
Yeah.
didn't respect it. You didn't need to use
Mm-hmm.
because you don't need to do it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's what we always talk about. I feel like you need to respect the character
Mm-hmm.
or the story, and that wasn't done.
I agree. Didn't live up to expectations there by any means. I'm gonna go with Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and this movie's dookie. This is not a good
Wow!
movie. Again, another Dead in the Water
Wow!
franchise. How they got Helen Mirren to play the villain along with Lucy Liu is beyond me. Those are two pretty good actors, one really good actress, and one pretty good actress. Didn't really take the cake for me. Some of the things that were working for it in the first movie didn't really carry over into the second one. Predominantly the family, and then having everyone be superheroes. I know that's probably part of the lore and everything like that, but just didn't really do it for me. Kind of got away with from having Zachary Levi be the lead. I think you could have explored different things there while also having the family still involved in some way. But maybe just a little too early for all of them to be superheroes.
Okay. I had this in okay. Like obviously I've showed my hand on that front already, but
Mm-hmm.
this was one where I thought it was going to suck going into it like everybody else, but I did end up giving it an 84. We had an aggregate score of 80, so you had a 76. But I would, if you had said bad, I wouldn't have been wow. I am surprised at Dookie.
But I don't think I'm going to watch Aquaman again. I could watch Justice League again. I could watch The Flash and Black Adam and Man of Steel again. I'm never watching Shazam.
Not Fury of the Gods. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair way to put it. Okay, I can understand that.
I could see. I probably won't see Black Adam, but I think the first time through was better.
Yeah. No. I can understand some of that. I can. As much as I gave it's Shazam Fury of the Gods a higher grade than Black Adam myself. But last, because I think I'm rounding us out here, we have Aquaman. I already used my stamp and used my veto, and I would hate to see. I hate to see is the wrong way to put it. I like Last Kingdom, at least recency, more so than the original Aquaman. So I would not want to put that ahead of it on the list. So I'm going to put it in the okay category, the original Aquaman. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. The bad. What am I doing? No, put it
bad.
After Last Kingdom. Sorry, I just totally
after Last. I gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha. Lost Kingdom. Yes, because I liked Lost Kingdom more. And I know there's probably a level of recency bias, but I also am not rewatching Aquaman. But I do love Momoa. I had a fun time with him in both of those movies with a character who I could give two shits about. So yeah, I had this in okay, but at the same time, they need to be pretty much in the same spot because they're very similar in my eyes.
I am fine with that. Again, still haven't finished it, so maybe I'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah, okay.
As soon as Dork does Jessica Jones season 3, I'll get on that there. That's a callback to an earlier joke within the universe where it's a DCEU episode,
Well done, sir.
But I have one stamp and one veto here. So I'm going to veto Man of Steel up into the good, great category. Probably right here and stamp it.
All right.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. So to recap, because we don't really need the extended cut or the original version of Batman versus Superman. I don't know what this Black Adam thing is hanging around, or E.T. Edda's mission, but we can forget that.
Yeah, no clue what those are.
But at any rate, at the top we have the Suicide Squad in the cinema category, joining Peacemaker season 1 and Zack Snyder's Justice League. In the bangers, we have Wonder Woman and Shazam. In the great/good category, we have the Batman versus Superman Supercut, Man of Steel, Blue Beetle, and Birds of Prey. That's a pretty eclectic group there. The okay category, we have The Flash and Black Adam. In the bad category, we have Justice's League, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and the original Aquaman. And then in the Dookie category, Wonder Woman 84, Shazam Fury of the Gods, and Suicide Squad, the Ayer cut. And then haven't seen Justice League is black or gray, I should say. We haven't seen that. So
how do you feel about our list?
I feel pretty good. Pretty good here. I think I'm happy with almost everything. I think maybe the Flash could be at the end of great/good, but I don't care about that too much.
My only gripe is probably the Aquaman movies to be in the okay category. Otherwise, I feel pretty. Obviously, I put Man of Steel in a different category, but like I feel good about it.
I feel pretty good about it overall too, and I wouldn't hate it if we had Aquaman in the okay category and Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom was in bad.
What I feel great about though is this is an accurate representation of how we've talked about these movies. It's spread out all over the place.
Yes.
And there shouldn't be I'm glad banger and cinema we got right. In Dookie, I think we pretty much got right too.
Yeah. And in the middle, that's open for interpretation anyway. So yeah, I agree. That's all good stuff here. So we're putting the final nail in the coffin of the DCEU. Ready to move on to James Gunn's DC. What is he calling this? DC Worlds?
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is. He's doing some weird shit. We talked about this last week. Peacemaker season 1 is kind of a part of the universe, but not. And it's going to be kind of a sequel to whatever they do or a prequel to whatever they do with Peacemaker again, but not really. So I don't know. He's already messing with the timelines here. So
Strange.
we'll see. And I think the Superman Legacy got pushed back a year. I think I saw that.
I think it's 2005, 25.
I think so. Maybe it's 2020. Yeah. Maybe just later in 2025. But either way, I'll be very excited for that because as much as I love Henry Cavill as Superman, I think this other guy, David Crowan Sweat or something like however you pronounce his last name, looks like a cloned version of Henry Cavill. So they look like they could be like cousins or something.
Let's hope he's as good, if not better, actor. And obviously, we got Nick Holt as Luthor, and I think that's promising.
Yeah, absolutely. There. So the DCEU rankings. That's that. Now let's grab our tickets for the Discharge Depot because the train is leaving the station.
Choo choo, bitches.
Been watching. What have you been doing this weekend?
So the big one for me kind of came out of our Aquaman, the Lost Kingdom, excuse me.
It was the Last Kingdom though in some ways.
There you go. I started watching this HBO series that Jason Momoa has, and it's kind of like it's called On the Roam, and it's not I wouldn't call it a docu-series, but he basically is like going around and like doing shit with his buddies and things that he likes, like highlighting his, like, I guess in a way his personality, where like he's big into vintage bikes. He's big into there's like a level of like skateboarding involved in it. There's but that's more about one person, I guess, specifically. But
I can't imagine Jason Momoa on a skateboard.
He wasn't on it, but like that's a part of his background in some capacity. But it was more so it's the motorcycles, specifically vintage photography, and then like there's like a level of like jewelry and then like props and like weaponry for like movies and stuff like that. I actually have I've really enjoyed it. This is something that I think I will watch as like a comfort thing because I really appreciate his energy, and I also and then but it's to the point where there's like 8 episodes I think or something. I'm on the last one, but I won't watch it yet because I don't want it to end. So that's how much I've enjoyed it, and I'm just kind of surprised because it's like a thing that it came out earlier this year, and I kind of seen it was out there, but I just never watched it, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I like that. I like that for you.
Thank you.
I did Topgolf today. I'm on a little vacation from work here, so got my dad a gift card for Christmas to go do Topgolf in Canton, about 45 minutes away from us or so. So it was my first time ever doing it before. It was fun. It was a blast. We got 2 hours. Got pretty nice weather for it. It's not really busy on a Monday afternoon. So it was a good time, but the putting is very weird. So normally, like what I was kind of expecting, it's like, all right, when you get within, you get on the green, right? And if you're right on the fringe, maybe that's like a 3-putt, depending on how close to the pin you are. Then you get a little bit, if you're a little bit closer to the pin, that's a 2-putt. If you're a tap in, that's a tap in. You know what I mean? And they're like, just do away with the putting altogether. But it doesn't matter. Once you get on the green, 2-putt, you have to chip in real life, if that makes sense. So like you have to hit the closest target that's in the driving range. And it's a 53-yard chip. So every putt, no matter, and then where the ball landed would determine if you got a par, a birdie, a bogey, double bogey. You know what I mean? So if you were like in the innermost circle of the bullseye, that was a par, that was a birdie. That's your best score. The second ring, you're at a bogey, a double bogey, and if you're outside of it, it gets worse. But so it didn't matter if on their previous shot you got within 1 yard of the pin. You're still hitting a 53-yard putt, chip every time to putt.
Huh. Wow.
So yeah, it's a little crazy. I wish they had just done away with that, but it's a lot of fun. You can play a bunch of different games there. We had a good time. We were playing Pebble Beach on the golf simulator. So yeah, it was a good time. We played match play. I won 4 up. No big deal.
Nice. Oh wow.
They didn't like my dad's swing. A couple of times it didn't even like register on him, or like he hits these low line drives. So some of I think the discrepancy was like on the simulator, he's going uphill. But in real life, we're on the 3rd level of the driving range. So the ball kind of shoots out straight and it doesn't get a lot of carry. So it's like not looking like it's going in the air, on the simulator, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's
So
tough. That's frustrating.
he got pretty pissed at it. It's like, classic old man getting frustrated with technology,
Yeah, well,
But
that's
no,
tough.
it was a good time. I definitely go back and like doing it with like a group or something. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I know Doc's big into that, and I know my dad
Yeah.
does in some like simulators in some capacity. Yeah, they seem like if you're a big golf junkie, it seems like a fun time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It was a good. You don't even need to bring your clubs. They have clubs there, so you can just
Oh
kind of
wow,
come in. We brought our own because we're pros.
sure.
We weren't hardos though. I did see one guy leaving a bay with his golf bag around his shoulder and his golf spikes in his other hand. So the guy, you're just standing on a AstroTurf, driving range thing, and he's like he's lacing up his soft spikes.
Well, how about that?
I was saying to my dad, I was like, that's like a grown adult bringing a glove to a baseball game. Like that's like that level of cringe.
Yeah, that's yeah, I can't say I'd do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. You leave the spikes at home. Speaking of home, I mentioned I'm off this week, so I have plenty of time to prep for our next episode, which I'm actually very excited for. Original versus sequel, Roadhouse edition. So I believe the new Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal should be coming out this week or this weekend on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
So we'll go watch that. I will prep this week and watch the original Roadhouse. We can get together, find out which side that we want to be on here. Mm-hmm. Although I think this was your idea, so I'd be happy to take the reboot. If you feel very partial to the first one.
We'll see. We'll see where they land. I'm going into it. I tend to lean towards the original. But
sure.
I'll probably lean towards the original because the only thing that would push me the other way would be like if it's really good. But
okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's
cool. We'll be in contact this week. We'll exchange some notes, some ideas here. I've been looking forward to this. It looks fun. I want an opportunity. Like I said, I haven't seen the original Roadhouse yet, which is probably a huge crime on my part. But I also want to see this new Roadhouse movie. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. We'll see if they can actually like make this stupid idea work again.
Yeah, we'll see. I am excited about it. Like this, I do think like I'm just like I don't know what to expect going in with this new one.
Well, we'll let you know next week at the same bad time, same bad place as always. How's that?